before, it's really loud because of that water pump, but when I bought this property, we were just coming out of a 5-year drought. It was 1 year before Hurricane Harvey hit, actually just under a year before it hit, showing us just how bad our yard flooded. But the water that I showed in the duck coop, when these bricks are removed, it'll begin flowing out here. But right now I need to get this water lower because there's already too much water in the backyard. So my husband's working on kind of pumping it all out, and it flows across the backyard all the way through here. You can tell that 40 plus years ago this used to all be one big field and woods, and this was a natural creek bed that it flowed through, and it's the right of way here for the electrical lines. And so it flows all the way down here, and then it comes around, and he has a hole dug about a foot deep right here with bricks that hold this water hose in place. It's not a water hose, but you know what I mean. The pump hose in place, and then it pumps all of this water out to the very front where you saw in the ditch it draining out of. And all the other ditches are empty. That water that you see is strictly the water from our yard. So that's how we kind of deal with the excess water during the winter. The pump has saved us because this is one day of rain that you're seeing. If it was multiple days and we hadn't pumped, things would get really insane really fast. Luckily our house is over 2 feet off the ground, so that makes a substantial difference. Kind of see where the land is higher here, but really the goal was to fence this in, but it's not much of a play area for our children or our dog to be in, especially with there being poisonous snakes and other things out here. And so I really don't want to give this entire area to our ducks either. The idea is to maybe build this up somehow to be able to eventually put some kind of foundation down, or rocks, build it up maybe with some rocks, and put a nice little shop or workspace out here. But right now it is just a muddy mess. It really is. Okay, so everything's still a muddy mess, and I mean, it's just insane how all the grass is gone out of here because of the amount of water that just keeps flowing into it. And so I'm gonna have to figure something out, whether I'm thinking I might be turning some of these into raised beds when we fence this off and putting them out here because of the amount of mud, to kind of make this a garden area. But I don't really know, because this, if you look back on previous videos, this area was grass a couple months ago before the heavy rain started coming and filling in. But you can kind of see now just the lack of water compared to earlier. How much the water has kind of went away since we started pumping. Now there's still water because since the last time I recorded, rain started falling that night. So there's more water out here, but you can see that it's substantially less, especially in the coop area where we've removed a brick out and let it kind of drain underneath. So all this has to be pumped out too. And if the water wasn't so muddy, I would pump this into containers, but this water is disgusting and just laden with bacteria. Another reason why I'm not that concerned about pumping is that right here, up against the back of our house, we actually have this whole container. You can see it a little better now. And this container is massive. It holds well over 1,000 gallons. It's bigger than our pond, which is 3,000 gallons. So I know that it holds a lot of water. I just don't know exactly how much. But it's just completely filled up by rain and the water that drips off of our AC. So it's actually incredible the amount of water, because my husband accidentally drained this out completely about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks. And it's already up to here. So it's quickly filling back up. And you could reach kind of in the top to grab water out because it is open. But realistically, there is a nozzle right down here, and all you have to do is turn this nozzle forward and water comes out. It can be put in a 5-gallon bucket, it can be put in our watering tank, or there's this hose right here that could be connected to it and it can be pumped out, which is actually him trying to circulate it like that is how it accidentally got pumped out a couple months ago. And then this is another filtration system to kind of circulate the water if necessary. And here is the hose to this. Now, I've been thinking, actually, lately, we've been thinking about building maybe kind of like a sump pump into the ground and filling it with rocks, putting the hose into it, and maybe using some of this water hose that we got. And this is, I believe it's poly water line, and I think it's 2-inch. So hooking this up and running it to where we can move the water permanently around our yard, maybe put an IBC container in the front garden, things of that nature, just so we don't have to use city water for everything. And it kind of helps not only ease the water bill, because even though the water is going into our yard, the city still charges fees for basically sewage and all of that. So it will save us a lot of money, plus we're not having to use the city water to kind of move garden water around. So that would be really nice. But so here's one last look. It's still a muddy mess, and what I really love to do is bring in a ton of like pine shavings or mulch or anything of that nature and bring this area up quite a bit to prevent it from holding water during heavy rains. But at the same time, it's a very large space. It's over 900 square foot. That would be a lot to kind of try to mulch out right now, especially with how heavy the rains is. One night we'll fill this whole place up and we'll have to pump it out. Like you saw earlier, the amount of water running out, just imagine what, a week of rain will do in this area. I mean, it's just a ton of water to move. So hope that kind of gives you guys an idea of how we move water around and out of the duck pen, because it does literally turn into a pond. And then once it starts drying out, you'll see me coming in and reseeding all of this, and I'll show you how we do that, because it's just nasty to have a pen that's nothing but mud for them to play in. So it's something that you can't escape during the rainy season, but you can definitely change that when everything starts to dry out and we're getting towards our dry drought season. Then you can kind of see what we can do with this area that the ducks and the high waterfall has so graciously cleared out for us.